knocking themselves over to get to that place. I looked to my right in the edge of the jungle, and there was a firefight going on, but it wasn't my fight. The A1Es was working them over, a lot of artillery, a lot of smoke. Always three things about battle: the sound, the sight, and the smell. I could hear it, but I couldn't smell it at that point. And I got a call on the radio. It says, "Serpent, is that you?" Off to my to the east. And who in the world knows who Serpent is except somebody did? And I says, "Yes, this is Serpent 2-6. What can I do for you?" He says, "I have a lot of wounded in this LZ here, and I would like somebody to help me out. We've ordered a medevac pilot, but they're some 50, 100 miles away down south someplace." I said, "Sure, throw some smoke." He says, "Be advised, the LZ is very hot." I said, "Well, it won't be any hotter for me than it is for you." With that, he threw a can of smoke, and I went in and landed. And immediately I figured out why he said it was hot. There was two machine guns, one from the quartering right, one almost dead center. And they started bringing the kids that was wounded to the helicopter. And there would be one in the middle and a soldier on each side dragging him because he had leg injuries. And they would shoot all three of them down. And we kept doing this, but eventually we got loaded. But in the meantime, my gunner was wounded in the shoulder. My crew chief, I looked back and his arm was dangling. I looked at my co-pilot and he had a bloody leg. And I felt like I had had an accident in my pants because it was, but it was red instead of the other color. And I'd been hit with a bullet that come under my arm into the armor-plated seat that we had, and it shatters into little chunks. It's a Kevlar, I guess it is. But that will do a number on you. I took 11 rounds through the windshield, a total of 52 rounds in the aircraft. My co-pilot, he was a young warrant officer, Frank Marino. His eyes were about that big, and he reached and pulled the collective pitch. For those that don't understand helicopters, that makes you go up and down. And I reached and grabbed him, and I says, "No, Frank." And I says, "We got to get the wounded on board." And a couple of minutes later, he did it again, and he was panicking. He was changing colors on me. And I pushed it down again. I says, "No, Frank, we got to get the wounded loaded." He looked at me with the big hound dog eyes. He says, "Ed, don't we count?"
And for that mission, I believe you received both a Purple Heart and a Distinguished Flying Cross.
Correct.
For a non-combat sorting. Let's jump to November 14th. And if you can just describe what was going on then and the preparations for going into LZ X-ray and what you were expecting and what actually occurred.
The intel was, says there's possibly enemy in the area. That was a good briefing, huh? So it was a Sunday morning. I didn't realize that for 20 years later, but it was Sunday morning, about 9 o'clock, 9:30. And we had a 16-ship formation, and we went in and started inserting the infantry in this area that we call landing zone X-ray. And 4 lifts we put in there, which constituted about 375 soldiers. On the 5th lift, and of course all this time I'm looking and there's nobody shooting. We had prepped the LZ with artillery and the gunships on each side and doing their thing in case somebody stuck his head up, we'd take it off. And I'm saying, boy, this is a cakewalk. Oh, this is so nice. The fifth time we landed in there, they hit 38 of the helicopters that went in. And a lot of we only lost 1 helicopter that couldn't get out, but a lot of damage and a lot of wounded. We straggled back and went to the pickup point again to where we had been. It was a 13-minute flight each direction. And licking our wounds and seeing what was going on and figuring out what we had left that would fly. And I knew that they couldn't hold out without ammunition and water, and especially ammunition, because they had a basic load of ammo was all that each GI carries into the landing zone. And sure enough, a minute, I got ahead of myself. Colonel Moore called, says, "No more helicopters in the landing zone. You can't survive." But and I'll fast forward there again. Well, knowing that this couldn't happen, he had to have help, or it was going to be another Custer's last stand. It was, by the way, Custer's old outfit, 1st to the 7th Cavalry. So we got squared away, and I found a helicopter that would fly with not too many bullet holes. Loaded ammunition, water, medicine, and lots of, as much as it would haul, and was just standing by. We got a call, and he says, I need a volunteer to come in and bring the equipment I just described. And it was deafening, the silence was. And I was the oldest man in the organization. I was the only man that had ever been in combat. So they kindly looked up to me, and I just walked out, and I said, I'll take it, to my commander. And my crew started walking towards the helicopter, and I said, this is volunteer mission, get out. They said, no, sir, we're crew, we're going with you. I said, well, it may be the longest day of your life. Yeah, we know that. I said, maybe the last day of your life. Yes, we know that. We fired the machine up. 14.5 hours later, I shut it down after the last landing in the zone. Was at 10:30 at night to a flashlight helped by one of the kids in the landing zone. The colonel came out and hollered in my ear, says, I can hold out till daylight. Don't make any more flights in. I started to kiss him, but I didn't.
During that, as the battle unfolded, Colonel Moore called the Broken Arrow event. What did that mean, and what did you see?
Of course, I was monitoring the radio and shuttling in and out. And when he said Broken Arrow, the code, that was a code for all air support in the country of Vietnam to come to landing zone X-ray. And trust me, there was a lot of airplanes because they were stacked up, jockeying for position to get in. And it was one heck of a battle, if you could imagine. They took turns coming in. We even got napalm, which did some collateral damage and friendly fire, really. But the battle raged for the next 3 days. We lost 308 killed. I don't know how many wounded. And they estimated they lost about 2,000, but it's hard to say. There were 3 regiments of those people, by the way, and the odds turned out to be about 10-to-1 odds against the number that we had in there. Now, the second day, though, we began to move the perimeter out, the infantry did, and was able to almost routinely bring lift ships in and put more infantry in. And, of course, that was the thing to do, and that gave more people on the ground a better chance to contain those people that come in waves. It was certainly trying to annihilate them.
Now, we had the chance to see the movie We Were Soldiers in our leadership class here. How accurate would you say that portrayal of the events in November 1965?
I give it 85%.
And with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions that we might have if the mic handlers can come down.
Oh, no question.
Hi.
Yes, sir. Major Dennis, Seminar 14. In the film, I believe your character is portrayed as pulling a sidearm on another medevac pilot. Did that actually occur?
That was my boss. And had it occurred, I would have taken a weapon away from him and did the work myself, but it didn't occur. There were some words passed, yes. Like they refused to go into the landing zone, and it was there, and I'm not blaming anybody. It was the policy of that organization at that time. It was a hot LZ, they wouldn't go in it. So I wanted to transfer to that outfit. Not really.
Well, sir, as we close out this afternoon, do you have any parting words for the class?
Just happened. I've got a note here that in case I have a senior moment, I've scratched some stuff down to tell you. I would like to thank the United States Air Force for this tremendous award that is about to be bestowed upon me. Included in that thanks is Major Cox and his wife Sharon. Albert Einstein once said, as long as there are men, there will be war. I think he was pretty close to right. This nation was born under revolution and revolt, but we grew up under freedom. And I believe that the youth of tomorrow will fight equally as well as the youth of yesterday to preserve the freedom that we cherish so well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of the class of 2004, present you with your medal. Thank you. Whoa.